Now, South Africa is about to enter another week of rolling blackouts. Eskom will be implementing stage 4 and 3 until Thursday. The power utility is raising diesel supply concerns and says it will update the nation on Wednesday or once there are changes. But when are we going to see the back of blackouts? Well, let's speak now to energy expert Roger Lilley. Thank you so much for your time, Roger. We do appreciate it. I stumble every time I speak about Eskom because I get very frustrated. It just doesn't seem as though there's an end in sight, and now we are being told that we'll have stage 3 and 4 this week if their diesel supplies do not run out and they are secured. What is your assessment of the situation? Is this ever going to end, and will we remain on stage 3 or 4 this week, or will it be pushed up to, I don't know, what's the biggest stage, 7?
Yeah, good evening to you, Heidi. Look, the situation is fairly simple to understand. The equipment we have is aging and is unreliable, and it keeps failing. So the way forward is the private sector in the independent power producers program that are building more and more solar and wind and other technologies. Now, bid window 5 of the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producers Program was signed in October 2021, so last October. And when I say signed, I mean that 25 of the bidders were officially accepted, approved, if you will, by the Minister of Energy. Earlier last week, the Minister signed 3 of those to be built now. So that means that out of a possible 2,600 megawatts, which bid window 5 offered, we have less than 500 megawatts, which is going to be built in the next 18 to 24 months. So load shedding is going to be with us for some time yet.
But do you think it's going to get worse? Because I hear you speaking about renewable energy and there are plans to try and stabilize the grid, but is that sustainable? Because the concern is that things are going to actually get worse before they get better. We have been subjected to this for 15 years and counting, and it almost seems as though things are getting worse. I don't know what week we are in now, but we have been subjected to really bad stages of load shedding.
Yes. Look, Eskom itself has said that we can expect something like 47 weeks out of the next 52 weeks to have load shedding schedules applied. So we're going to see load shedding for at least 2 more years while the renewable energy projects come on stream. And we can't put all our eggs in that basket either. We have to make sure that the existing power stations become more reliable. So Eskom simply has to work on that. Now, the big problem that they have, firstly, is one of money. And you will know that Eskom has applied to NERSA, the energy regulator, for a 32% increase in electricity tariffs. So not only will we have load shedding, but we'll have electricity which costs a whole lot more than we've ever had before.
That's rather worrying. I mean, people would say, why am I even paying for electricity because I don't have it for most of the day? You mentioned, you spoke about power stations, and when I've previously interviewed the CEO of Eskom, Andre de Ruyter, he has spoken about the constant cry and plea with the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy to build more power stations and sign off on these power stations. But that is not a quick fix, and it almost seems as though we need that quick fix. We currently have power stations that don't operate at full capacity, such as Kusile, with most of its units down. We have aging power stations that possibly are going to shut down in the next couple of years, and we aren't building new power stations. Surely that's also a concern.
Yes, it is a concern. And the thing is, we are building new power stations, but we're building power stations to comply with international standards in terms of clean energy. We cannot continue to produce electricity by burning coal because we're causing too many problems to the atmosphere. We're polluting the atmosphere and causing big problems for people, particularly who live in that region. So we have no choice but to move away from coal as soon as we can. And so the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Program was begun for this purpose. So really the question that is on everyone's lips is, why does it take so long? Why do we have so much red tape? Why do we have so many difficulties in getting these 25 projects signed off? 3 out of 25 have been signed off. Now, in fairness, I've subsequently heard that some more of those might be signed off by the end of October. We'll have to wait and see. But the longer it takes to sign them off, the longer it takes for these things to be built, the longer it takes for us to have the extra electricity, and so the longer it takes us to get out of load shedding. So to my mind, the way to get out of load shedding is, it looks like the private sector, and that means the electricity users, you and I, are going to have to do things ourselves. And that means, if we can afford it, to put solar panels on our roofs, to make sure that we use less electricity, we become less reliant on electricity where we can. So that means we can use gas to cook on, for instance, instead of electricity. We can have solar geysers instead of electric geysers. Well, a solar geyser still has an electric element, but at least it uses less electricity because the sun heats up the water most of the time. And these sorts of mitigations are going to have to be done by users of electricity. And that includes the private sector and the business sector. So the residential area as well as businesses are going to have to move in this direction if we ever want to have a reliable source of electricity.
You spoke about red tape, and as you said, everybody's asking the question of, why is government not doing what it's supposed to be doing to move away from this red tape, get rid of the red tape rather, and just get the job done. And I think that's what's causing so much frustration. You have President Cyril Ramaphosa ending his international trip sooner because of the ongoing rolling blackouts that we are seeing. But we're still not seeing any tangible solutions. We are just being told measures are being taken, we're trying to sort out the problem. But, you know, as South Africans, you look at the situation and you go, there was an Eskom war room that was established a couple of years ago that was headed by then Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa. There's been minister after minister, there's been CEO after CEO, but we still sit in darkness.
Yes, and that's very true. And so it's understandable that the public are totally frustrated and angry with the situation. But the situation is what the situation is. And the only way forward is for us to put pressure on the government to make sure that more electricity is made available. And to do that, we're going to have to insist that more of these projects are signed now. And, you know, I don't understand, for example, the president said at the end of, near the end of July, I think the 25th of July, he came on television and told us that bid window 6 limits would be doubled. So instead of 2,700 megawatts, we would have 5,400 megawatts. But nothing's been signed, nothing's been agreed. So these things seem to take a long time to go through the process. Now, I'm not sure if that's the same everywhere in the world. I don't know if that is indeed how it happens, that things take so long. But I'm not convinced that it does. And when I look at other countries like Australia, for example, and I say how quickly that country ramped up both battery storage and solar power, then I have to ask the question, well, why can't we do the same?
Exactly, and that's the thing. There's a crisis in this country. Load shedding affects almost every aspect of life, and I cannot understand it. I wish I could have 2 minutes with the president so that he could understand how serious this actually is. But thank you so much for your insights. We do appreciate it. That's energy expert Roger Lilley. I just cannot understand why this load shedding issue cannot be dealt with. It is just completely unacceptable that we need to be subjected to rolling blackouts for 15 years, and we are told that they're dealing with it. I don't think you're dealing with it. I think the situation is just getting worse. But anyway, that's my vent for the evening.